I'll be honest, Zacian is a big reason that I stopped playing VGC. It's just the best Uber. It's not even close. It's better than Kyogre by a long shot. It's better than Xerneas by a long shot. It basically replaced Xerneas. It's better than Groudon. It's better than all of them. This is Pokemon that should be removed from Scarlet and Violet by WolfeyVGC. We're going to hop right into this and see what we think.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are coming out in less than 7 months, which means the time is ripe for players asking themselves the question, what would make this the best Pokemon game ever for me? One of the great things about Pokemon is that people value different things. Some players care about the designs of the new Pokemon, while others might be super passionate about how the trees look. For me, I care about how good the game is competitively.
He's never gonna give up on the tree thing. Some people are super passionate about how the trees look.
I really liked Sword
I
and
love
Shield,
it.
which, as far as I can tell, is a really unpopular opinion.
I liked Sword and
The
Shield.
reason this probably isn't
I didn't love
surprising,
them,
though,
but I
is
liked
that
them.
Generation 8 was one of the best generations for competitive Pokemon. So I've been thinking
Was it
about
really?
Generation 9 and what I personally would like the games to be like. And I've also been thinking about what were some of the pain points of Generation 8 and how to remedy them. What I've come up with is a list of Pokemon that, in my opinion, are not balanced in the slightest.
There was one format that I really liked in VGC, and I haven't played all the formats, but the one I really liked was whenever they did no legendaries, and they restricted the top 10 usage Pokemon. So things like Whimsicott, Incineroar, Rillaboom, a bunch of stuff got removed. And there were no legendaries. I thought that was a really, really fun VGC format. I didn't necessarily like my playthrough of Sword and Shield, but I definitely have enjoyed playing VGC in Sword and Shield. It's been pretty fun. But now that they've added the legendaries back in and the Ubers back in and all that stuff, I haven't been playing it for the last few formats.
And don't have an easy fix when it comes to balancing. I've specifically selected Pokemon that invalidate a majority of other Pokemon simply by existing in a format.
So chat's problems with Sword and Shield are Sword and Shield story, and the trees look okay in the trailers. The only problem with Sword and Shield was the fact that the gym leaders only... Okay, the gym leaders were terrible. They didn't have enough Pokemon, and they didn't have enough moves, and the gyms were just literally a pushover. So that's a real problem. They can leave it that way if they want, but they need to add a hard mode to make it more difficult for the people that actually want a difficult playthrough.
That might seem a little confusing, so let's start with an example.
Only remove Pokemon that are
Regieleki
so
is a very
strong.
bizarre Pokemon. It has almost no move coverage, and on paper, its stats aren't anything to write home about.
Except the speed.
Until you realize that it has the fastest speed stat in the game by over 40 points from the next legal Pokemon.
Yeah.
On top of that, its electric moves, which are the vast majority of the moves it uses, all get an innate 50% boost, making it have effectively far stronger offensive stats than it appears on paper. This means that Regieleki actually has base 176 offensive stats on electric moves with a nature that doesn't boost its offenses, and base 180 offensive stats if you're using a nature that boosts your offenses.
It's
ridiculous. I know that
ridiculous.
specific numbers cannot mean much if you aren't as in the weeds as I am when it comes to Pokemon, so let's try and conceptualize the speed stat in easier to understand terms. Regieleki is so fast that almost every Pokemon can't outspeed it while holding a Choice Scarf. Pokemon like Venusaur, who double their speed in the sun, need to run absolute maximum speed investment, including a speed boosting nature, in order to outrun Regieleki even with sun present. If you give Regieleki a Choice Scarf or a speed boost somehow, it will outrun Pokemon like Tapu Koko, Crobat, and Mega Gengar while their speed is doubled. Regieleki isn't just faster than other Pokemon. It's so much faster that a lot of tools used for outspeeding fast and frail Pokemon just straight up don't work because it still ends up faster. Maybe you don't feel
and it can
totally
slow you down with
convinced that it should be
Electro
the
Web.
poster child for Pokemon cut from Scarlet and Violet. Well, there's one final thing about Regieleki that really seals the deal for what makes it so broken. Pokemon Sword and Shield changed the way that the speed stat works in Pokemon. Basically, in every generation before Sword and Shield, the speed order of the Pokemon was set at the beginning of the turn. So something like setting Tailwind wouldn't suddenly make your partner faster. In Sword and Shield, however, that was changed, and speed was made to update mid-turn. Now, if you switch in Kyogre next to your Ludicolo's Swift Swim activates immediately and applies to the current turn.
Which I think is how it should work.
This is overall a good change in my opinion, as it's more intuitive and allows for Pokemon to more directly interact with the current board. The issue is when you have a Pokemon like Regieleki. Regieleki has access to the move Electro Web, a relatively weak attack.
It can
that hits
slow
both
you down
opponents and
mid-turn.
lowers their speed.
It's faster than everything, and it can slow down both Pokemon on the enemy side of the field. Yep, broken.
Stat by 1 stage. Which,
So good
as
for
we just
speed
mentioned,
control.
applies immediately. This specific combination of speed, high damage output, and dynamic speed allows Regieleki to single-handedly invalidate 90% of all Pokemon ever created.
Yep.
So many Pokemon can't handle having their speed dropped, taking damage, and then being targeted by Regieleki's partner. Pretty much any Pokemon that used to hold the Focus Sash item, such as Gengar, Infernape, Nihilego, Bisharp, can't do anything in front of Regieleki. This applies to nearly every fast Pokemon in the game, as even those that don't hold the Focus Sash typically invest most of their stats in speed and their offensive stat. This is
And they
made
just
even
get
more
one-shot.
ridiculous when you consider Dynamax. Dynamax not only allows Regieleki to double its bulk, its primary weakness, it also gives it access to the moves Max Strike and Max Airstream, allowing it to gain a speed advantage even when the opponent protects. Even without Dynamax, Electroweb allows Regieleki to shut down so many Pokemon simply by being present in a format. Which
It can
Pokemon
also
do you
set
think should be cut from
screens.
Scarlet and
Yep.
Violet? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you're enjoying the content or excited for Scarlet and Violet content, I hope you'll consider subscribing. Currently, only about 3% of my audience is subscribed, and I'm working
That's
hard on every
crazy.
video to get that number up.
Dude, my only like 1.5% of my audience is subscribed, by the way. So if you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe and subscribe to Wolfey because his content's awesome and we enjoy watching it on this channel.
It would really mean a lot to me if you enjoy my content if you'd consider subscribing. Anyway, back to the video. Regieleki is far from the most broken Pokemon in Generation 8.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it doesn't
It's
have
in the top 10
counterplay.
though.
What I am saying is that many Pokemon are made unviable due to Regieleki's presence, and I think that is unhealthy for the game as a whole. Just like Regieleki, the remaining Pokemon on my list are all Pokemon who are just too powerful, whether at one specific thing like Regieleki, or just in general, like Zacian. Zacian is the single most powerful Pokemon ever created, and it isn't
Broken.
even close. For some reason, it has the highest base stat total in the game, tied with Arceus. The thing is, though, that it actually has a higher base stat total than Arceus in practice, as
'Cause it boosts
Arceus only
itself.
ever uses one attacking stat at a time, making the other stat worthless. Factoring in the effective base stat total, aka removing the base stat of the attack or special attack stat that the Pokemon doesn't use, Zacian has 40 more stat points than the number 2 Pokemon.
And it boosts itself.
This becomes even more ridiculous when you remember that Zacian's ability gives it an innate attack boost whenever it hits the field, further boosting it even more.
Yep.
What about its typing? Well, if you've watched
It's
my
a
video on the
ridiculous
top 10
typing,
best types
too.
in the game, you know that Zacian's typing is an incredible balance between defense and offense.
Yep.
Combining the single best defensive type in the game with the best overall type. Okay, well, what about its moves? Surely they didn't give this thing a super deep move pool, right? Wrong. Not only does Zacian get a 100 base power physical steel type move that never misses and also does double damage to Dynamax Pokemon. That was kind of a tongue twister. They also gave it the best physical fairy attack in the game, Play Rough.
Yep.
Ordinarily, the good news would be that neither fairy or steel can hit opposing steel types for even neutral damage.
Close
But
combat.
They gave Zacian both Sacred Sword and Close Combat.
Yep.
Amazing tools for hitting steel type Pokemon and popular fire types who would also resist both stabs, like Incineroar and Heatran. On top of that, Zacian has access to moves like Wild Charge for Pokemon like Charizard and Kyogre, as well as phenomenal support moves like Swords Dance, Substitute, and Imprison. Zacian is also nearly impossible to switch into. For example,
Zacian
let's
is
take a look
ridiculous.
at Jellicent.
I'll be honest, Zacian is a big reason that I stopped playing VGC. It's just the best Uber. It's not even close. It's better than Kyogre by a long shot. It's better than Xerneas by a long shot. It basically replaced Xerneas. It's better than Groudon. It's better than all of them. It's just the best Uber, and it's not close. If you watch any Pokemon tournament, you're going to see Zacian in most of the teams. I was team building, and I was trying to actually counter this thing, and I was like, I mean, I can use Landorus, but that's about it. In double battles, that is, in double battles. And even then, Landorus is slower, so... And it doesn't actually intimidate it. It still boosts its attack, so it's still neutral. So, yeah, it's
Building
ridiculous.
a team for a tournament and theorized that Jellicent might be good. It has Water Absorb, making it good into Kyogre. It resists steel and is immune to fighting, making it easier to switch in against Zacian, and it can run Strength Sap and Will-O-Wisp to help against physical attackers like Zacian and Groudon.
Not a terrible
If you
theory.
run max defense, max HP, and a defense boosting nature, you can still get KO'd by Zacian using Behemoth
Oh
Blade
my
as you switch in,
gosh.
and then play rough next turn. I stopped looking at Jellicent after this point. Jellicent is a good example here because it's known for being at least somewhat bulky. Think about all the Pokemon less bulky than Jellicent,
Doesn't
or
have the
who can't
greatest
afford to
defense,
invest
though.
as much into their defenses, or have a worse typing against Zacian. That's like nearly every Pokemon in the game. Zacian is probably the most centralizing Pokemon in the format. Every Pokemon needs to be mindful of how they interact with it.
Yep.
I'm not against centralization, or some Pokemon being better than others. In fact, I think both those things contribute to Pokemon being in a healthier spot. I am against a Pokemon being so much stronger than everything else that it isn't worth even considering a majority of the Pokemon. Zacian and Regieleki have something in common. They're both extremely fast. I was talking to my friend Aaron Trailer, who said something I agree with. Any Pokemon faster than base 130 should have serious drawbacks that make it difficult to use. I actually think Pheromosa is a really well-designed Pokemon for this reason. It's fast and strong.
It's literally
but its bulk
paper.
is so abysmal
Yeah.
that even resisted hits can easily knock it out, leading to clear counterplay.
Yep.
This is not the case for Aleki, Zacian, or Shadow Rider. Calyrex Ghost is part of a trend of Generation 8 Pokemon, that they only don't appear turbo broken because of how they interact with Dynamax. Calyrex is practically the second fastest Pokemon in the game. It's Ghost and Psychic, typing that isn't phenomenal defensively, but very solid offensively due to how strong Ghost is. Calyrex has three things that really make it unbalanced. First, the speed. As we mentioned, Calyrex is well over that 130 base speed threshold, but it's too strong given how fast it is. The next thing that really sets Calyrex apart is its
It
ability.
can one-shot most things.
As one is literally just two abilities combined.
Yep.
A Nerve, which is a powerful ability that prevents the opponent from using berries, and Grimstarl, which gives Calyrex a special attack boost whenever it takes a KO. This would be enough to make Calyrex unbalanced, but there's more. Calyrex Shadow Rider has a signature move called Astral Barrage.
Yep,
This is
it
a
hits both
120 base power
enemies.
move that hits both opponents
ridiculous.
and also never misses. I think the easiest way of understanding how broken this move is,
And you
is to
can't,
compare it to
and
Groudon
think about it this way, it's Ghost, so you can't fake it out either. So you can't fake it out and then hit it with a more powerful move to one-hit KO it on the first turn.
Kyogre.
You have to be
Poe's
very
legendary pair
careful
were
with
given a
Ghosts.
signature move as well, with
Because
the
you
release
can't
of
fake them
Omega
out.
Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Their accuracy's
Crestus
bad,
Blades
though.
and Origin Pulse
Yep.
are 120 and 110 base
15%
power
chance
move
to
of
miss.
ground and water type, respectively. In order to ensure these moves weren't too strong, Game Freak made them each only 85% accurate. This makes these moves very risky to use. Everyone who has used Groudon or Kyogre has lost games because they missed their spread move at the wrong time.
Yep.
It doesn't stop them from being usable, but it does cause players to find ways to get around the lower accuracy and not click the attacks recklessly. Now, compare that to Calyrex, who not only is way faster than Groudon and Kyogre, not only has a better offensive typing in Ghost, not only has perfect accuracy so it never misses,
Yep.
but also becomes stronger after getting
Gets
a KO.
boosted.
To quote the TFT community, who balances this game? I genuinely do not understand what they were thinking when designing this Pokemon. Dynamax helps keep Calyrex in check, because
And it's not even as remotely as scary as Zacian, in my opinion. I think Calyrex is like, you can deal with Calyrex because it's paper enough and its defensive typing is bad enough that you can one-shot it. Like, if you can use, a big one is Urshifu, and you use, what is the move called? Sucker Punch. So you Sucker Punch it and try to feint it before it can actually do anything. So like there are things that can deal with it, but Zacian is just ridiculous. Like there's probably on one hand Pokemon that can deal with Zacian. There's probably less than one hand.
doubling your HP stat is a really good way to ensure Calyrex doesn't knock you out and get a boost. But I fear that without Dynamax, Calyrex would be far too brutal.
It'd be
It's
really
also an
scary in a
especially bad
non-Dynamax
Pokemon to deal
format,
with because
for sure.
the better Calyrex is, the more Calyrex is used. And as Calyrex can one-shot other Calyrex, speed ties become very important, which
Yep.
is just never a good space to be in.
Then you're flipping a
Speaking
coin.
of Pokemon that are only kept in check by Dynamax, let's talk about Urshifu. Urshifu landed in a really good spot in Generation 8. It was good in certain
Urshifu's pretty
formats and
nuts.
certain teams, but never felt necessary or overpowered. Just like Calyrex, though, the only reason Urshifu didn't feel oppressive is because Dynamax keeping Pokemon alive for longer gave them better tools to weather its powerful attacks. What is it that makes Urshifu so problematic? First, its ability
Fast
Unseen
priority,
Fist.
can't
Unseen
protect
Fist allows
against it.
Urshifu to ignore, protect, and attack Pokemon directly. This is an extraordinarily
so much
powerful ability
damage
that promotes much more aggressive gameplay than we're used to seeing. It's worth noting that Max Guard does still block Urshifu's attacks, another way that Dynamax helps keep it in check.
Not if it maxes,
The other
though.
quirky thing about both Urshifu forms is that its signature move, Wicked Blow and Surging Strikes, always crits. This means that effectively, both moves are around 120 base power. Now, that's extremely powerful for a single target attack, but the real kicker has to do with the unique property of critical hits. Critical hits don't just let a Pokemon do 50% more damage. They also ignore things like attack drops,
defensive boosts,
and reflect and light screen. One of the best ways to slow down powerful physical attackers is the ability Intimidate or the move Reflect.
Or
Urshifu
burning it.
ignores both of these and does immense damage. Both Urshifu also get access to good priority attacks in Sucker Punch and Aqua Jet, as well as the great stab move Close Combat. I worry that in a format without Dynamax, Urshifu could easily be unbalanced and promote a hyper-offensive style of gameplay. Another Pokemon that became broken after the Isle of Armor DLC expansion is actually a Pokemon that was pretty mediocre for the early part of Sword and Shield. Rillaboom received two
Grassy
massive buffs in
Surge.
quick succession, with its hidden ability being made available, quickly followed by the new moves introduced in the Isle of Armor.
Grassy Glide.
Rillaboom's ability is very good, but not inherently broken. Grassy Surge creates 5 turns of grassy terrain, having the damage of Earthquake, powering up grass-type attacks, and healing all Pokemon that touch the ground. The issue is the new move they gave Rillaboom, Grassy Glide. This is a 70 base power move that gets priority when grassy terrain is up.
It's
in
pretty
addition to the power
busted.
boost. Priority moves are normally kept in check by one of 2 ways: having an extremely low base power, or being conditional like Sucker Punch. Grassy Glide is neither, and it's so strong that it can KO Pokemon like Kyogre and Regieleki from full HP. Rillaboom is yet another Pokemon that is kept in check by the extra HP Dynamax provides, but without it, nearly any moderately bulky Pokemon can be knocked out from middling HP from a bulky Assault Vest Rillaboom. Even with Dynamax providing extra HP, offering another way to overwrite terrain, and letting players bolster their defense,
Also has Fakeout, by the way.
Offenses, Rillaboom has been a phenomenal Pokemon during Generation 8.
People undervalue Fakeout. Fakeout is actually so strong if you are smart with it and use it correctly. Fakeout can actually win battles for you that you couldn't win otherwise in double battles. Obviously, in single battles, it's just chip damage. And anything that I'm talking about with VGC, I'm talking about the double battle format. I don't play singles. Singles just seem not fun to me. I like the dynamicness of double battles and the quicker pace of double battles.
If it makes it into Generation 9, there's a very good chance it causes some problems. Our next Pokemon is one I'm a little on the fence about. Grimstarl is the last Pokemon we'll talk about that was introduced in Generation 8. It's a phenomenal support Pokemon, taking advantage of its ability Prankster, combined with its extremely deep supporting move pool and solid defensive typing.
There's a lot of ways you can play Grimstarl. That's the nice thing about Grimstarl is it's very, very flexible with how you can run it. It can be a screen setter. It can be the fake out user. It can shut down Pokemon trying to set up like Tailwind and stuff like that. Or you could even just, it has decent attacking stats. You can just attack with it because it's Dark and Fairy.
Its opponents. It's an extremely strong Pokemon, and one of the...
also you can run, is it Switcheroo? The thing where you can throw a lagging tail at somebody. I think that can happen as well. And I'm sorry if I'm not reading chat as much. I'm trying to actually focus on the reaction, so I'll respond to all the chat messages after we get through the video.
Pokemon
I
of
promise.
Generation 8. But it's in a spot where it's hard to say whether or not it's unbalanced.
I don't think so.
A lot of the support Grimsnarl typically provides has to do with its priority Reflect and Light Screen, which have much more value thanks to how they make Dynamax Pokemon extraordinarily tanky. It also offers speed control in the form of Thunder Wave or Scary Face.
Oh yeah, and Thunder Wave.
Again,
I forget about Thunder
with
Wave.
Dynamax Pokemon taking a surprise KO. It's been such a dominant Pokemon the last 3 years.
I think it can learn Will-O-Wisp too, if I'm not mistaken. I think it can learn Will-O-Wisp. I'm not 100% on that though.
But it's so difficult to tell how much of that has to do with Dynamax specifically. If Dynamax were confirmed to be in Scarlet and Violet, I'd definitely say we'd be better off without Grimsnarl. Alright, enough with the Generation 8 Pokemon. Now for the classics. You already know who we're starting with. Do I even need to tell you? Incineroar. Who balances this game? There was a point in Generation 7 where Incineroar was on over 75% of all teams. At the World Championships, over
Oh, it did
83%
work.
of
Never
all
mind.
players on the final day used Incineroar. That's 65 out of 78. And do you know what they did
Bro,
going into
Incineroar is
Generation
dumb.
8? They gave Incineroar a huge buff. Incineroar is arguably the best support Pokemon
It is
of
the
all
best support
time.
Pokemon.
It has Intimidate to weaken opposing physical attackers, Fakeout, which is one of the best support moves ever, and amazing natural bulk and defensive typing. On top of that, it has an extremely valuable role as a pivot. A pivot is a Pokemon that allows you to switch into your other Pokemon easier. Incineroar is relatively slow, which is actually a strength. In Generation 7,
need to
it
split
used
those
the move
social links up,
U-turn to help
apparently.
bring its partner Pokemon in safely. However, in Generation 8, Incineroar gained access to the move Parting Shot.
Weird that
Unlike
that-
U-turn, which does a measly amount of damage, Parting Shot lowers the target's attack and special attack stat, and then allows the user to switch out. It's also a sound type move, so it can't be blocked by Substitute. I have no idea why they gave Incineroar arguably the single best move it could have asked for when
No
it was
one knows.
already too powerful, but that's the world we live in. Incineroar almost always runs Fake Out, Parting Shot, and a physical stab move like Flare Blitz or Throat Chop, but it also has other good moves it can run like Taunt, Burning Jealousy,
Yep.
Snarl, and
Will-O-Wisp.
Protect. To make matters worse,
You
it
can
has
learn
an
Will-O-Wisp.
incredible array of viable items it can hold. Safety Goggles for Amoonguss and Venusaur, Shuka Berry for Groudon and Landorus, Citrus Berry, Assault Vest, and Figgy Berry for General Strength, Weakness Policy for Surprise Factor, and a Dynamax option. The list goes on. Incineroar is wild because not only is it one of the single best Pokemon in a general use case, but it's also so flexible with items and its fourth move slot, you can actually tailor it to help you with specific problematic matchups and Pokemon as well. Incineroar to me is kind of the rich get richer Pokemon. If your Pokemon is already good, Incineroar will help keep them alive and get them into position, making them even better. And because Incineroar isn't a Pokemon whose primary goal is to do damage, it's very difficult to make beating it the main strategy of a team.
Yep.
In other words, if a Pokemon isn't already popular, that's probably because it's weaker than the Pokemon currently being used. And Incineroar, by virtue of its ridiculous supporting options, only makes that gap even wider. Speaking of Pokemon I hate that were popular in Generation 7, Xerneas. Longtime viewers of my channel know that Xerneas is one of my least favorite Pokemon
It's literally
ever.
not even used
Xerneas
though.
is a signature move called
Anymore.
Geomancy. This move, if you're holding the Power Herb item, immediately doubles your special attack, special defense, and speed stats. Xerneas' ability also acts as a built-in life orb for fairy attacks without the recoil, further boosting its damage output. In other words, with just a single attack, Xerneas becomes extremely fast, powerful, and bulky, and it also has the best type in the game, with both Moonblast as a powerful single target move and Dazzling Gleam to hit
Used
both
to be
opponents.
ridiculous.
In the formats where it was legal in Generation 6 and 7, Xerneas was the #1 Pokemon to beat. People had to run multiple Xerneas-specific techs on their team, such as Roar, Red Card, Haze, Taunt, etc. Though not the case during Generation 8, Xerneas at its peak is an even more centralizing Pokemon than Zacian. A single bad turn against Xerneas can instantly lose you the game. Xerneas against Xerneas was also extremely susceptible to critical hits, which made using Xerneas even more frustrating. I would love to never have Xerneas in the game again, and I think in many ways we just got lucky that Xerneas was hurt more than helped by Dynamax. I have 2 more Pokemon to talk to you about, but not because they're too strong, I just don't like them personally and think they're bad for the game. First, Venusaur. Venusaur is a very stupid Pokemon because people just run Focus Sash Sleep Powder, pair it with a Sunsetter, and hope they hit their 75% accurate Sleep Powder and that their opponent stays asleep. It's uncompetitive, uninteresting, very luck-based, and does not do anything good for the overall health of the game.
Or you can run wide lens on it.
It isn't the most broken Pokemon, and it does have counterplay, but I think it would be better for everyone if Venusaur didn't make it into Scarlet and Violet. Our final Pokemon is one that didn't even make it into Sword and Shield.
Smeargle.
Smeargle is one of the worst Pokemon of all time. By virtue of being able to learn every move in the game, it's extremely annoying to play against. And
'Cause you have
often
no
has an
idea what
annoying
it
mix
has.
Of supportive moves like Wide Guard and Follow Me, and disruptive moves like Fake Out and Spore. To make matters worse, it also has Moody, meaning if you don't remove it quickly, it can sometimes get an annoying boost that makes your life very unpleasant. Smeargle is a fun, goofy concept in theory, but in practice, it just isn't worth the headache.
Yep.
And I'd love to leave it behind like the mistake it is.
Agreed.
And that's every Pokemon I'd cut from Scarlet and Violet.
All right, pretty solid video. I enjoyed a lot of his opinions and agreed with a lot of them. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to check out my other Pokemon reactions. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.